What's going on, everybody? We're talking about three phones in particular today: the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and because of the new release, the Google Pixel 8 Pro. Yeah, I know. The Google Pixel 8 Pro doesn't really compare because of the popularity and the limited amount of areas that it's going to be, regions that it's going to be available. Why is it available in Europe but not all of Europe? That blows my mind. So that's a negative right up front. Let's talk about really quick, before we talk about the specifications, some of the ups and downs of each of the phones and who wins in what category before I talk about specifications, because I figure this will give it a little bit of context and clarity as you hear the specifications. Now, the battery tests, I've seen all of them. Every single one says the same thing. Sorry, Android users. The iPhone 15 Pro Max did beat out the Samsung by 28 whole minutes. Google we can't throw in there because there hasn't been tests yet. It hasn't been released. Now, the iPhone 1. The tests were identical. Same apps, same web uses, video, audio, the whole thing. And it won by 28 whole minutes. Fantastic. You definitely won. You win that category. Now, let's see what other categories you can hold on to. When you're talking about the RAM of a phone, you're talking about how much speed it has, how many different applications it can do at the same time, true multitasking. While the iPhone software really just puts apps in pause mode or in hibernation mode but they're still open, it's not true multitasking like the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, because the Ultra literally has split screen technology. You can run two apps right next to each other on the phone and using an S Pen. It is more of a computer than the iPhone is, hands down. The iPhone does have its pluses, but this is not one of them, because when we did the RAM test, the iPhone glitched like crazy, shut down once. It did not work out too well. It was lagging, and doing identical things as the Samsung, except the Samsung was actually able to do more and keep up more and fly well beyond the iPhone capabilities. In the very end of the test, the Samsung was still running smoothly. So that RAM test completely went in the hands of Samsung. They completely destroyed them. And let me get something straight right now. That was 8 gigs RAM versus 8 gigs RAM. That was not Samsung's top-of-the-line phone going against the iPhone's top-of-the-line phone, which to me makes no sense. All of you people are out there saying it should be 8 gigs of RAM against 8 gigs of RAM. No, it's supposed to be flagship phone against flagship phone. If Samsung didn't have the 8 gig option, everybody would be comparing it to the 12 gigabyte option. That is just fact. And again, we couldn't add the Pixel 8 Pro to the test because, again, not released yet. The Samsung won in the camera test, and I know you're going to talk about all these different sites that are saying no, iPhone had better pictures, but no. iPhone does something that Samsung gives you the option to do: remaster the picture. When you take a picture with the iPhone, it remasters it all on its own, and bang, shows you the picture. The color saturation, everything is perfectly clear, and it's all built in. Samsung, because of editing features, allows you to remaster it, revert it, go back, do other things. You could do more with the editing on a Samsung phone than you can with an iPhone. And those picture tests were not what. It's funny on how the iPhone, when they try to compare it to the Samsung, iPhone uses its max amount of capabilities, but they want Samsung to dumb itself down to be comparable. That's wrong. That's wrong. And I'll tell you when iPhone wins. They definitely won on the battery test. They don't win on the digital zoom test, because even though they have 5 times digital zoom now, Samsung has 10 times. It's a huge difference. And a 200 megapixel camera up against a 48 megapixel camera, Do the math, guys. I mean, I really don't have to tell you much more about that. The displays, Samsung wins in the specifications with that from even though the color saturation on the iPhone is presumably better, even though you're not using the full capabilities of the Samsung. Samsung, they beat in dots per inch, the PPI. It beats in, you'll see in the specifications. The drop test, the iPhone is completely horrible. Completely horrible. You would think with the aluminum bezel on the outside, it would make it better. I mean, the titanium bezel on the outside, replacing the aluminum bezel from the iPhone 14 is going to make it do better? No, not at all. What you have to understand is aluminum will give. When aluminum falls, it gives a little and breaks in that one spot. When a titanium frame falls, the whole thing reacts and the whole phone shatters. No one understands this quite. I don't know why they don't understand it. They should understand that titanium is very hard to bend, and when it falls, it's going to give a very blunt shot. It's not just going to hit that one spot and crack right there. It's going to hit that spot and it's going to destroy your phone. The drop tests are incredible. Samsung holds up like a champ because of the Gorilla Glass Victus 2, but the iPhone does not. I'm sorry, guys. It just does not. The Google Pixel has a leg up on these two phones just in one area. It uses pure Android, unadulterated from one of the other companies that make Android phones like Samsung, overlapping their software on top of Android. Pure Android is so much nicer. When you compare Samsung's voice to text to Google's voice to text, it's not even a competition. Samsung's voice to text should be used as a joke to see what words will it say next, because the Google is so accurate, so on point. I love it. It even does my punctuations when I say it. Samsung, it's just a horrible experience. I'm probably going to do a video just on the voice to text, just so you can see what I'm talking about and the stupidity that it has. It's pointless to use. You're working more on fixing all the corrections that voice to text messed up on the Samsung than actual typing out the entire message or letter or email or whatever you're using it for. But Google, on the other hand, their video processing stuff is quite impressive, because like they have the magic editor and the magic eraser, the eraser taking out sounds from videos right from the phone. You don't have to use a big editing software program to pinpoint certain sounds. That's already going to be in there. And their magic editor, it's using a generative AI. Can you imagine what it's going to come up with for your video editing? Yeah, that's going to be pretty crazy. I did miss one thing for the iPhone. It has cinematic video capture. That is pretty impressive. I wish the other phones came out with it. So if you are a videographer, you might want to stick to an iPhone. The other thing about a Google Pixel 8 Pro, soon to be coming out, I think within 2 months, they were talking about a video boost processing thing for the video recording. It's supposed to be cutting edge. I don't know the actual information. I'm waiting to hear more back about that. We will see exactly what they have to say. Now, let's talk about the specifications real quick. I'm not going to do accurate specifications where I say, well, it's actually 159.9 by 76. No. No, 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 no. The Samsung is the biggest phone. Google is a smaller phone. And the iPhone is the smallest phone. And it's a clear difference. If you see actual pictures of the phone, you can tell how much different in size the Samsung is from the iPhone, even though it is 0.1 inches bigger than its competitor, the iPhone. It's just shaped differently. An iPhone is wider, a Samsung is taller. End of story. Now the weight I will specify, because the Google is 213 grams, the iPhone is 221 grams, and the Samsung is 234 grams. Doesn't sound like much, but last year's iPhone was almost 20 grams heavier. So they're going to notice a big difference. I don't know if I would notice a big difference, but they are definitely going to notice a big difference. Uh, you would also think something that light would actually play into the breakage and be saying, oh, well, it's lighter, it's going to have less force when it hits the ground. That titanium outside is really doing a number on it. So let's talk about the display. The display on the iPhone, it is their Retina XDR OLED 120 hertz refresh rate. Meanwhile, on the Samsung, it's dynamic AMOLED 2 times 120 hertz refresh rate, the HDR10 Plus. Now, the Google is the LTP OLED 120 hertz and it's HDR10 Plus. Google kills everybody because of the fact that their displays can get brighter than the rest of the phones. 2400 peak is for the Google phone. Now, iPhone comes in second place at 2000 nits and 1200 nits. The worst brightness on a phone is the Samsung. You really can't tell when you're looking at them. Samsung has a different quality in their phone where you can still see it, but Google is definitely winning, hands down. I said the 6.7 and the 6.8 and 6.7. 6.8 is the Samsung, 6.7 is the displays on the other two phones. I will get into a little bit of specific because it's a 460 ppi on the iPhone. It is a 500 ppi on the Samsung and a 489 ppi on the Google. So when you're talking about how accurate and how detailed the video can be on any one of those three phones, Samsung should win only because it's 1440 by 3088 pixels, and the Google is 1344 by 2992 pixels, and the iPhone drops all the way down to 1290 by 2796 pixels. By specs alone, Samsung wins and Google's in second place. iPhone doesn't even place with those type of pixels. But I will give it to their display. They knew how to make a nice display without having to jump everything up. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, since we already talked, well, I didn't talk about the battery in depth. The Apple battery is only 4441 mAh. Meanwhile, the other two phones have much bigger batteries and they do not last as long. So the processing power in an Apple is definitely lower. Clearly, you see in the battery usage, a Samsung and the Google does more. They have 5,000 and 5050 mAh batteries, and they don't come close to beating an Apple phone. Now, all three phones come in many, many different colors: titanium white, blue, green, cream, BMW edition for Samsung. And then you have obsidian, porcelain, and bay for Google. It doesn't matter what color it is. Some people are trying to argue that the colors make a difference. They don't. They're the same freaking phone. It's the same equipment on the inside. Don't think one color makes the other one worse. The one thing I will say about Apple is that they finally took away that damn switch. Switches should not be on technology anymore. We're to the button or voice activation phase of life. Thank God they switched it to a button. And did you hear? Their button can be programmable. You can do other things other than locking the phone with that button. You can program it inside the phone. Yeah, Samsung's been doing that for over a decade. I love how Apple comes out and says, look at this new technology. It's not new. It's new to you guys. You've never used it before. So that's why you don't have a clue about it. Congratulations, Apple. You have stepped up your game to a decade ago. And one last thing. How do you guys like that charging port? Welcome to the new world. You can actually borrow your friend's Samsung charger now, instead of searching all over the place for an Apple, because Apple now has the same one. It is the USB Type-C charging port. Yes, it's different from the 14 and the rest of them. How many times did they change their charger? Too many. Now they have to change it again. And what are they charging you for it? I mean, it doesn't come with the block that plugs into the wall. It just comes with the wire. And if you want another wire in one of those blocks, what is it, $80, $90 now they're charging for the charger? Are you kidding? It's a charger. It's a charger. I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope this video answered all the questions you were wanting to ask. If it didn't, just leave the question in the comments and I will definitely answer it. You know I will. Have a great one, guys.